Well, good morning and welcome to another episode of Activating Miracles. I'm so grateful you all are here. Good to see some familiar faces. Hello, Miss Ella, Doris, and Sharon and Jody. How cool is this? We are meeting again. In today's episode, we are going to focus on practicing presence. And I want to give you, hello, Miss Carol. I want to give you an opportunity to do a quick little review about some of the topics that we've already talked about. And the primary reason I am doing these events, and I'm calling them Activating Miracles, because according to A Course in Miracles, a miracle is a shift in perception. It is a willingness to look at things differently. And in this time of coronavirus, of so many things that are going on the planet and more that are coming that are going to be even more startling than what the coronavirus has done, we need to be very clear about who we are, what our purpose is, and how to stay in alignment with that part of us that is going to be grounded and rooted in the truth of who we are. So we have talked about the difference between love and fear. That's what we focused on last week: fear and faith, love and fear. So all of the recordings of the past conversations are in my YouTube channel. So go to Lina Orlando. When you go to YouTube, search Lina Orlando, and you're going to see under a playlist, Activating Miracles, all of those conversations. Today, we are going to pretty much focus on that presence that is within us, that presence of awareness that is within us. It is a powerful aspect of ourselves. It is natural and we all have it. And that is the part of ourselves that we have not been aligned with, we have not been connected to. It's never left us, but we have not deliberately learned to connect with it. So the reason so many people are suffering, the reason so many people are scared with the coronavirus is because they have left their center. They're not grounded. We're not grounded in the truth of who we are. So last week we talked about love and fear, and we've been using the little people, the little magnet people. So a quick review: yellow is when we're closest to our heart. When we operate from our heart, we operate in a place of the light of who we really are. Then as we come into the world and we get conditioned by those who love us, our parents love us, but they condition us with information that cause us to forget that we are light, and we get a little denser. So the green little people means that our mind has been conditioned to believe certain things that are not allowing us to remember the light of who we actually are. And then we get a little bit blue. We get so dense that we become defined by what the outer world teaches us, that we, for the most part, have very, very little conscious awareness of the truth of who we are, the soul that we are, and the power of a presence that is within us. So let me address the way that our mind gets trained. We shift from knowing that we are light, which is the high frequency of love, and we become conditioned into believing that we are not that, and we descend into the lowest possible awareness, belief system, way of living that is grounded in fear. And fear is the opposite. It's not even the opposite. It's a block to the light, and that's what creates darkness. Just as there's no switch to turn the darkness on, because there's no factory of darkness. We don't get a bill. I don't know about you, but I don't get a bill for the darkness in my house. I get a bill for the light in my house, for the electricity in my house. So when we are operating from the level of light, and we are born as the bright yellow bringers of love and light. And little by little, every one of us gets trained into believing that we are not the light, that what we are is just a human. And when we get trained into that, you know, when we're teenagers, we get a little bit green. Teenagers are a little green, aren't they? They're ornery. um, and then we get totally, completely conditioned into this darkened state of beingness. So what the coronavirus is doing for us right now, it is sending us all into our rooms, but it is sending us to our rooms for a really good reason. So that we can be with the darkness, so that we can be with our fears, so that we can begin the process of seeing what we're afraid of, because our fears are what blocks the light in us. So when you begin to understand that fear is nothing more, really, truly nothing more than a belief that we are holding that is blocking the truth of who we are. So if you get comfortable with observing fears, being present to what the fear is trying to tell you, fear then is being used as a powerful, powerful indicator of what you are not aware of, in terms of the light that you're blocking. So for example, and this is gonna be a shorter presentation today because I wanna open it up to assist anybody who might be more interested in really in what your own fears are. So when you become aware that there is a fear, there is an irritation, there is an upset. I say every irritation is an invitation. It's an invitation to see our ego's motivation. When we get really clear that at the level of fear and darkness, we are operating with what is known as our ego. Our ego is nothing more than a name, a name for the collection of thoughts that are dense, the collection of thoughts inside of us that activate fear. And our soul does not really think. It doesn't have to. It is connected with everything, so it operates from feeling. But we cannot feel what our soul wants to communicate to us in the way of intuition, knowingness. And intuition is not a thought. It is a knowing that arises. You can't think intuition, you feel intuition. So our soul wants to communicate, is communicating to us information all the time. We can call it soul, we can call it spirit. And for us to be able to hear that intuition, to feel that intuition and experience that knowingness, then what happens to us as we little by little descend into the density of egoic thinking, that thinking blocks what we know. So if, for example, innately we know that healing comes from within, we are not healed by a doctor. We are given maybe medication, maybe a treatment, maybe a surgery. The body heals itself. The doctor facilitates the healing because it gives us, through the placebo effect is where the healing really, really operates. You decide that thing is helping you. So if we were to listen to our soul, our spirit, healing would be automatic because it would come from the inside out. But what happens is that we're conditioned to believe that we've got to go outside of ourselves for healing. And when we can't get to the doctor, we have fear. Fear blocks our ability to command your body to do its thing by saying, hey, I am entitled to miracles, which is what one of the teachings in A Course in Miracles. You are entitled to miracles because of what you are. A soul, a spirit, what each of us is an expression of the divine. So when we are born, all of us who are on this planet, I'm going to create a circle. We have a soul body. Our soul is a field that extends around us about 24 meters in diameter. And when we are born, we are at the center of our soul. We are connected and aligned and can feel the truth of who we are. Babies can feel everything that is happening inside of them. They feel their hunger, they feel their desire to be creative, they feel a desire to laugh, they feel a desire as they get a little bit older to draw, they feel a desire to play. They feel because they don't think. They don't have thoughts in their minds that make them think, I'm hungry. They feel it. They are in touch with their bodies because our bodies do not lie to us. Our bodies give us information. Tight and tense, you are disconnected from your truth. At ease and at peace, you're in alignment and grounded and centered in your truth. So we get conditioned to believe all kinds of things, like I was saying earlier. If you believe that the doctor has your medicine, has what's going to make you feel well, when you cannot get to the doctor, fear is an indicator that you have decided there's something outside of you that has power over you. And because you cannot get to it, you feel disempowered. Fear is the thought that you cannot get to your job because right now you're quarantined. You cannot get to your job. You're not going to be making money. That activates a fear that you're not safe. You're not going to be taken care of. Well, if you have a good practice at practicing being the presence of the truth of who you are, you align with the God, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it. When you're in that alignment, what happens is that you begin to get creative ideas. You begin to receive information that allows you to feel at peace and at ease. And from that place, you will activate exactly what you need to know to deal with the situation that is there. If you don't have money coming in, you might get the idea, well, maybe I need to sell something. Not from fear and desperation, but from that would make logical sense. You might get the idea, well, maybe it's time for me to move out of this expensive house. But it would come with a peaceful knowingness. Right now, everybody is being invited through the coronavirus to look at all of the things that we have become attached to that exist outside of ourselves, like money, like jobs, like doctors, like other people. And when we operate from that place of we cannot get this thing that we have been conditioned saves us or helps us that is outside of ourselves, fear is an indicator, if you use it, that is giving you an awareness of the thought that you're thinking that blocks you from feeling a greater truth that is inside of you. And if you, I can see quite a few of you by shaking your head. Does this make sense to you? Let me know. Give me a yes if it makes sense. Okay, good. Thumbs up. All right, very cool. When you understand the dynamics of what is happening, now you begin to be in a position where you can actually be in the middle of chaos, be in the midst of a lot of concerns, a lot of worries, but receiving guidance that helps you navigate through what's happening. It's like you connect with a GPS system and a voice that sees all of it begins to communicate with you. And when you get comfortable that there is a higher knowingness, and higher, not because it's above you per se in order, it is in you, it is through you, it connects all of us. And when we operate at that level of oneness, that everything is connected because energy equals the matter that we see, as Einstein told us. When you begin to operate at the level that this energy is intelligent, it knows everything. That's what creative source, God's universe, whatever you want to call it, is. It is the energy that is connected, and because it's connected to everything, it loves everything that it created that is within it. That when you connect to your guidance system, you're connecting to the source that knows everything, and it will guide you step by step by step. What is happening right now when we feel this incredible fear, because so many of these external things that we thought kept us safe are now being brought into question, two things are happening. One is we see that we're not connected to the source of information. We have been conditioned to believe that there is something outside of us, that darkness has blocked the truth, that there is a source inside of us that should be guiding us. The second thing that we're seeing is that we now realize we cannot rely on these external forces like doctors, like insurance, like the government, like jobs, money. We can't rely on those things because those things can fall apart. Those things are built on sand. They do not have a solid foundation. What does have a solid foundation is the truth of who we are. When you ground yourself in a practice of aligning with your higher self, aligning with that which knows everything, because it's connected to everything, you begin to feel a level of safety, well, an incredible level of safety, security, groundedness, confidence, certainty, and more importantly, you feel peace and joy because you begin to enjoy life, because when those things that are outside move, you're not shaken because your house is built on the solidity of a practice that allows you to know truth. So coronavirus is exposing everything that shifts, and it's going to help us see more clearly that those who are operating on the outside, that manipulate those things, that manipulate the money system, that manipulate the government system, that manipulate the jobs, there are people who are operating at such dense levels of ego, and ego operates from a sense of scarcity. There's not enough, so it is always getting and protecting. Our souls operate from a level of abundance because it is connected to everything, so it knows that there is plenty. But more importantly than knowing that there's plenty, when we are connected to the energy of all that is, to the source of all that is, we reclaim our creative power to manifest, to create our desires. But because we don't operate from our ability to know that we are the ones who have created the world that we have, and yes, we have created this coronavirus, when your mind is really clear that we create our reality, we begin to take responsibility for what do we want to create instead. When we focus on what we want to create instead from an awareness that we are connected to each other, we operate not from hoarding and getting and protecting, but we operate from a sense of knowing that we create our reality, so sharing and cooperating and collaborating is natural. So the coronavirus is giving us an opportunity to see the systems that operate in darkness, because we don't really get to see the dealings of the corrupt government. We don't see those meetings. We don't see the way big corporations communicate with each other and decide the prices for insurance, the prices for medicine, the hoops that we have to jump. We don't get to see that. There's no transparency. So they operate in the darkness inside of a greediness that when they do what they do and make those decisions in the dark and we don't know what's happening, we come out of our center and we move to the edges of fear. Please don't take that from me. We move to the edge. Please don't take that from me. We get really nervous. And when the media whips us up into this frenzy of fear that death is happening, our mind gets so confused with so many fears that we lose our ability to come into our centeredness and creatively, by aligning to the creative source of all that is, begin to understand that we are powerful beyond measure. And it is connecting to that light, to that center of who we are, that we begin to really create the miracles that this world is ready for. We are in the middle of tipping the world, because what has happened to humanity is that the density of the ego has taken us to such a disconnected place, but many have been awakening, and this is a process that's been taking thousands of years. Many have been awakening, slowly moving up to a level of consciousness that humanity is about to cross a threshold. We are crossing a threshold into remembering that we want to get centered and grounded. We're done. We want to finish this whole, let me grab this. We want to finish being dependent on all of these things outside of ourselves to give us our safety. And we are ready to say, God, what would you have me do? I want to live from a place where I am at ease and at peace, because it is my birthright. So in order to come back into your center, give up being, a blue dense person and come back to the truth, the light of who you are, these things, unfortunately, have to fall away. We cannot rely on the money system. We have to stop relying on the health system so that we can face the fears that we have that brought us out of our center, so that we can then begin to little by little work our way back to our center. This is not an easy process. It is not a fast process, but it is a simple process. And it is a process that happens the instant you decide to accept the truth of who you are. Powerful beyond measure, and humanity has been that way since the beginning, powerful beyond measure, but we have used our power against ourselves. And those who understand the power of the mind have really used that against us, have conditioned us for thousands of years into going outside of ourselves. Through religion, taught us that God is outside, not one with us. So we have been disempowered for thousands of years by systems that are run by people who are so disconnected from truth that they have created a very dark world that we now have enough light, because many beings are at that level of having released so much of their density that they're lighter. And pretty soon, as humanity crosses that threshold, we are going to begin to move into more of the light of who we are. So are you going to be part of the accept the light of who you are? If you are going to accept that you are light, you have to question the thoughts that are not true, that were created by the ego, and you have to take responsibility for acknowledging that you contributed to the creation of the dysfunction by believing it. Not to make you guilty, but to return you to a point of power, that if you used your power to participate in a world of believing that you got to go outside to get your, the things that will make you happy, the things that keep you safe, if you agreed to believing that that's where your safety lies, you must agree to believe that it is not there. Why? Because it's crumbling. It's not there. That should be the indicator that gives you the awareness that if it's not out there, where is it? Let me use my power to create my own reality by believing, where is it? So today I want to open this up. Share with me. What scares you? What is upsetting you? Let's work you back through the layers of beliefs. We move out of our center. We move out of being the presence of awareness when we create layers around ourselves of protection. These layers of beliefs that we create that disconnect us from our truth are the beliefs that I'm not what I am. I'm not good enough. I'm not special enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. I've got to work really hard for my money. I've got to have a job outside of myself. I have to sell my soul. I can't do what I want to do because I got to do what they want me to do. All of those thoughts have blocked us from accessing our true knowingness inside. And those thoughts about things that are not real, that are not true, we have to face them. So if you want to unmute yourself, yes, Jennifer, you're seeing that, yeah, you're being shown money fears, body fears, the fear of death, fear of sickness. So a lot of body fears are coming up, money fears, security fears, with our job, is it going to be there? Also, relationship fears. A lot of us are experiencing being in close quarters with people that maybe are hurting us, or are abusing us, or doing things to us. We don't know, because this is not put out in the media, how many people are in a home stuck and confined with an abuser, whether it's physical or mental, and they can't get away. So those people are experiencing primal fears. Some of us are experiencing other kinds of fears that have some solution, whether it's the stimulus package that got passed and we'll get some money, whether it's a return to a job. There's lots of concessions that are being made that can help us. But somebody who's trapped with a physical abuser or a mental, emotional abuser, oh my gosh, so many fears are coming up. So who would like to raise your hand? You can do that, or you can unmute yourself and tell me about your fears. Let me help you see how to come back to being the presence that you need to connect with, so you can get grounded inside. That's what I want to show you. If you become the presence that can observe what is happening, and you have to practice it over and over, it has to be a commitment to practice being the presence. It returns you to your knowingness. It returns you to your connection to your spirit, your soul, your true source of power. then you become one that can give to the world, because you bring a calm and a peace. And that is going to allow you to activate the healing energy that is inside of you, that will infuse your body with power, with cells that become healthy again, because your body was designed for you to have an optimally healthy experience so that you can shine your light brightly. And we have not been taught, except for recently, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza is teaching us these things, that you got conditioned to think in a way that has made your cells get sick. Your cells naturally want to be healthy, but you have to think healthy thoughts, not sickness thoughts. You have to think possibilities, not fears, not fearful thoughts, not limitations. So again, who would like to be brave and become an example for the rest of us? So I can show you how to return to your presence.
Hey,
Hey.
Lina. It's Carol. I'm on my cell phone, so when I speak, my video doesn't work. And
No worries. No worries.
Okay. It's a technology thing. So what I have found is that I when I am outside, which I've been outside for hours every day for the last couple of weeks, I am really centered. My mind is pretty quiet. And then I come inside and I do some stuff for school, and I don't feel a full-fledged fear, but I do feel anxious about having to work in a system that doesn't work. And I see it crumbling, and yet I still feel anxious about it. So that's where my anxiousness is coming from right now. I know I'm getting paid. I shouldn't feel anxious, but I do feel anxious about it.
So let's, and you're a teacher for those who don't know you. So
right.
Teacher, and you're working with children, and yes, so you're not concerned about income because that's coming in,
Right.
But let's look at that anxiousness. So to be able to really understand the source of that anxiousness, we have to dig into places that we're not used to going to. Now, I know that you have that practice of being open to becoming aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. So this should be an easier process for you. But so you've got anxiety, and anxiety doesn't bring you to the fear. So that just puts you a little further away from your grounded in your truth, but you're not all the way in terror. So there's already layers that have been removed. So think about what you're anxious about and allow that anxiety, those thoughts to get activated right now, because our ego doesn't want us to see our fears and unpack them. So it creates confusion in our head about what we're afraid of, what we're anxious about. It creates a cloud that makes it so that you can't quite get to that fear. So just relax, take a breath, and let's go ahead and all of us together decide there is something greater that I can tap into that has my back. This universe is designed to be benevolent. Nature operates in harmony. The only ones that are inharmonious are the humans, but I am one of those humans that wants to be back in harmony. So today, I really want to see what's going on. So I request that my mind calm down and cooperate with me and allow my thoughts to become clear to me. So with that permission to enter inside, give me thoughts about what you're anxious about.
So it's funny because what comes up is almost a little guilt because I really don't have that much to do, and I feel like I should be doing something. It's well, I'm getting paid. Shouldn't I do something for the money? And I know that's silly because
no, that's okay. Don't analyze your own.
Analyze, just feel. Okay. So part of it's that. And the other part, I think, is I'm feeling it's like, I know this change is coming, and I don't know what part I'm playing within that change or how.
Okay.
So both of those things.
Okay, wonderful. So the anxiety is the guilt is something that we all carry. We all carry an unconscious guilt. And your guilt is tied to that not knowing the role that you're playing. So in being guilty about what, I'm making money, but I'm not doing something, it just lets you know that the mind has been conditioned to do to receive. That's
Yeah.
all. So make that connection. A child doesn't have to do anything to receive their parents' love, the parents' attention when it is little, but little by little we get conditioned. You have to do your homework to play. You have to, do the dishes to get taken out to the movies. You have to do something to receive, and of course that gets reinforced through school. You got to do the homework and bring it in to get the grade. You've got to then do your work to get paid. So
Yeah.
you have to do something to become a member that is productive in society. So that guilt is that you're not doing something. So let's take a second and just feel into that doingness and recognize the doing is part of the human belief system. But our soul, and this is why all traditions tell us you've got to become like a little child to enter the kingdom of heaven. Our soul is a little child, that there is a beingness inside of us. It is our innocent, playful, joyful being. Give yourself permission. That is the presence that you want to align with. What does your little inner child feel about what you are currently doing by being in the garden, by being, in nature? How does that part of you feel?
Oh, when I've been outside, it's just absolutely joyous.
Yeah.
And I do have a garden, but the other day it hit me that this is not so much about the food that I'm producing. It's about the connection I'm making by being outside. I mean, I've been told that several times.
Yes.
This is not about the food. The food's fine, but this is not why you're doing this. You are doing this because this brings you great joy.
Yes.
And while I'm physically working outside, I don't feel like it's work. It's just absolutely joyous for me to do that.
Yes. So when you can tap into, so your soul, you're in your essence, you're feeling, you're practicing being the presence of awareness that is present to the garden, that is present to nature. That part of you that is present outside because you're connected to all that is the part that allows you to come inside. And that's where you have to connect. So that needing to do something to earn is a belief that you have to decide, can I let that go away? If it activates discomfort to think I'm not doing enough and it makes you dense, would you rather feel at ease and at peace knowing, well, the check is coming in? Because this connects to how are you going to be part of the change? To be part of the change, you have to be somebody who knows your worth is established by your creator, and your worth is expressed to the world through your ability to be present and recognize the worth of everybody else. So our connection to others happens when we realize that we are all in this together, and the change that is coming is a change to shift us from believing that we have to do things to earn our worth, that it's our net worth that defines us. But that is not true, because every single person who is experiencing fears at some point, even if it's only for 2 seconds, has a moment where they quiet, they relax, they're lost in a book, they are lost inside of a maybe playing in the yard. The little child may be playing with a coloring book that's not being yelled at by a stressed out parent, or being abused by a physical abusive person in the house. When we quiet the mind and we go inside, we connect with that presence that lets us know who we are is okay and doesn't need to do anything to earn anything. So your discomfort, your anxiety has to do with you acknowledging that your worth comes from the inside, And the money system is a system that has been created. And be in gratitude. The fastest way to move into presence is gratitude for what is, gratitude for the roof over your head, gratitude for the breath, gratitude for the garden, gratitude for the food that you're eating, gratitude for whatever, if nothing else, for that breath that you're taking, gratitude for the doctor, for the medicine, for whatever. You can find one little inch of gratitude pulls you in towards your center. When we're in our center, this is what humanity has not been taught. We have actually been taught against this, is that when we connect to our center, when we can be in gratitude and we stop the thinking, a sense of beingness gets activated. And when we can begin to remember that our being connected in acceptance of our magnificence, remember that we are part of something greater. If you are here, you were wanted to be here. The Creator has created us because it wants us. Nobody gets created that's not wanted by the Creator. So our part in this change that is happening is to change our mind about who we are and what the Creator is. Instead of putting the Creator outside, we need to begin to come inside and recognize how wanted we are. And it is very challenging to believe that you're wanted when you've got people screaming or yelling or the news telling you how terrible things are. So to remember that we're wanted, we have got to cultivate a relationship with God that is more loving. We have been taught of a God of fear. We have been taught of a punishing God. So to remember your part in the change is to remember that what you are made of is a changeless substance that is eternal. And it is the light of the world. It is felt when you return to being like a little kid that remembers you don't have to do anything, nothing, to be any more valuable, more amazing, more worthy, more precious, more beloved than who you are. And we have to learn how to let go of the beliefs that tell us that we're not that, so that we can remove the layers that are between us and that remembering. Practicing presence, again, begins with a gratitude for that breath and a desire to want to know, what is my true worth? Outside of all of these things that are changing, what makes me happy? Outside of all these things that are changing, what allows me to connect with others? Outside of these things that are changing, then we come to a place of recognizing that we're all connected because we're all made of the exact same energy. And from that remembering that we're all made of the same energy, we begin to emanate a frequency that is calming, that is loving, that is accepting of others. We begin to become gentler people. And then we begin to realize that through our gentleness, others feel a little safer around us. That is the part that we're playing in the change that is coming, is to be one that is centered and grounded and no longer taking and protecting, but rather extending the peace that we have, extending the love that we have, extending the acceptance and gratitude for others. Because the ego is conditioned in selfishness, and our heart, our soul is conditioned in extending all that we are, because it knows we are one with all that is, because it knows inherently it is an intelligence, that is an energy that gets activated, gets manipulated into form, into expression through our attention to whatever it is that we desire to create. So when our attention is on what can I get, we've created greed and fear. When our attention is on what can I give, well, we create peace and harmony. So Carol, those are the thoughts that are operating in your mind, a misperception about you don't need to do anything to earn. And in gratitude that, hey, this is wonderful. If you have extra, give it away, share it. And that is the purpose for you, not just to give your money away, but to give of your time, of your energy, and more importantly, to give of your love by extending it, and in your prayer time, to send love to whoever needs it. see the world healed, see the world finding a cure for this thing quickly, see the world correcting these dysfunctional systems as quickly as possible, then you will know. You will not know your part. You'll be doing your part. Let me know if that helped, Carol.
Yeah.
In what way was that helpful, Carol?
Yeah, it's what you I already know,
Yeah.
but I needed to hear it. Obviously, I was still having these feelings. It's like, and part of me is like, yeah, I know it has to do with exactly everything you said, but you activate an energy that allows me to be more accepting and looking at that belief system is what it has done. And it's like, okay, I'm done with that. It's time to be done with that belief system. It's never worked. I don't need it or nor want it anymore.
Yes, and what you have said is, so two things that you said that are really powerful that I want to make sure we highlight. One is you said that I activate an energy that allows you to be able to shift. That's because I live inside of the presence of awareness that I am, and I am aware that every single one of you is the presence of light. So I am aware that you are each powerful, and every single one of you can change your mind about what you are thinking. You can shift your thoughts. So I know each of you can give yourself miracles, and you are attracted to this conversation because you want to be reminded of that. Your soul wants to remember that, and my knowing that activates the frequency that gives you, relaxes your ego mind and allows your soul self to activate the remembering of that truth. The second thing that you said is that you're done with that. You have to make a decision to be done with the thoughts that do not support your being the presence of the truth of who you are. You will be in confusion if you know you desire peace, but you are thinking thoughts that activate anxiety. If you have those two thoughts in your mind, you are not going to have clarity. You're going to have confusion. You have to decide, which thought do you want to listen to? Either give all into fear and let fear consume you, which is the way most of us have been operating, or let love consume you and return yourself to love, return yourself to peace, return yourself to being the observer, the presence of awareness, aware of all of the thoughts that pull you out of your center. Because when you get pulled out of your center, you believe the outer world has your power. When you come into your center, you access the true source of power, and that requires a moment of acknowledging, I have been thinking incorrectly, but I'm going to forgive the world because those who taught me incorrectly, clearly they did not know what they were doing. Everybody who operates in the darkness, their minds are so confused, they don't really know what they're doing to themselves and to humanity. Yes, they know that they are controlling. They know that they're hurting people, but they don't realize, this is what they don't know that they're doing. They don't know that what they do unto others, they're doing unto themselves. When we descend to that level of greed and the systems are breaking down, they're breaking down for themselves as well. What do you think is going to happen to the greedy ones when people don't have money to buy all their products, when people don't have money to pay for their insurance, when people don't have money to do all the things that they want us to do? What is left? They lose. So there is a reset, because this game of being human was not designed for losing. This game of being human was designed for multiplying, extending, because the energy of all that is, the source of all that is infinite in nature. And minds that have been corrupted have contracted that energy. And the collapsing of the system is because we have contracted. We have stopped being in service to humanity. When you're in service to the self alone, the game is going to be over. That game of separation and greed is on the it's collapsing. It's going to be over. And what's going to be exposed is all of the darkness, the greediness, and those who have been doing that. It's going to come into the light of our awareness. It has to. For those of us who are practicing presence, is to forgive them For those who are really in fear, it's going to be to judge them and condemn them and get really angry. That won't change anything, but that's going to be the energy that's going to take place. But practice being the presence of awareness. And from that presence, God, what do you think about all of your children? God loves all of his children as the prodigal children that we all are, as the prodigal sons and daughters. All of us are going to be accepted back into our alignment with God without any punishment. So it is not our job to punish those who got disconnected. It is our job to send compassion. And here's why. If you are hating on others, you have to condense yourself, dense yourself, and come out in anger to judge them. If you stay compassionate, you have to be grounded in the truth of who you are to emanate light and decide, it's not my job to do something about what they're doing. It is my job to play my part and send love to them. So thank you, Carol, for that. And Ella, you were saying that while listening to what Carol was saying, you were able to uncover that there is a part of me that wants to run from your situation. You're afraid of what you may discover on some level by staying. Ella, can you unmute yourself and just speak a little bit more to that? And let's unpack that a little bit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
No, so, you know, it kind of goes on to like some of the stuff that I was talking about in class last night. And then, so like last night, I end up like sharing something that I want to do. And in the midst of that, he was, you know, kind of putting down like limitations of where I can and what I can't do in certain areas. Is about the yard. Like I told him, I'm like, I really needing to get out in it. And I just need to have some room to do this. And when I heard the limitations, it was like all of a sudden, I'm like, it just, everything kind of, you know, and so needless to say, the night went a little sideways, but within that, I could feel my soul connect while simultaneously I'm wanting to disconnect. And I understand the difference. But then when I was listening to Carol and you had her take that breath, and I kind of went through the practice too, one of the things that I was beginning to realize is that my whole life, whenever I'm hit with something that's a challenge or discomfort, or I feel like I'm being controlled, or I don't feel safe, or the stability is crumbling, my automatic is to run. Mm-hmm. And my mom's on here. She could probably confirm how many times I used to run, run away, get loud, get angry, you know, something. And so I feel like there's this part of me that ego part is really trying to like hang on for dear life, that it feels like it's getting harder and louder.
Yes. Well, what is happening is we always do one of two things. We want to run away to get away from the situation, fight or flight.
Yeah.
Or we freeze. We want to hide. We want to cover up and disappear.
Yeah.
Both of those is to leave the situation, is to disappear from the situation, thinking it's going to go away. But
yes.
what we're being called into right now is the responsibility that the situation has been created as an opportunity for us to see what we have been believing about ourselves that has created what is happening. Because what is happening is always a representation of what we think about ourselves. If what is happening, you can see it and go, well, that's your issue, that's your thing, and stay grounded in the presence of knowingness of your true worth as a child of the divine. When you are grounded in the truth of who you are, you don't need to run away. You are actually present to sending love and light to whoever needs it, because you then can recognize, you're upset, and everybody's upset is about what they believe about themselves, not about what they believe about others. The thoughts about others get activated based on what you believe about yourself. And somebody who believes in themselves would not attack somebody, would not judge somebody, would not blame somebody. Somebody who really is grounded in the truth of who they are is emanating love. From here, we send out love. Now, if we're angry and mad at another person and that person takes it personally, then we got two people, two egos that are bumping up against each other. And you are, you're in my mastery class. So you know that you are the master of your mind. So what thoughts are you thinking that allows you to continue to be in that egoic battle, so that you can remove the battle from you and the other person to the battle in your head, where the work has to take place, the battle in your head between why do you have to run and why is that happening, and what is it that you need to do to stay grounded in the truth of who you are. So unpack that a little bit. When you want to run away.
So as I'm listening to you, so what's happening in that moment is, what I believe is happening in that moment, what's coming up is, and I'm going to use last night because it's the newest thing that I have, it's fresh, is that when that talk of that limitations, well, if you're going to do this and you can only stick here, here, and here, it brought me back to like that controlled childhood space, to where I did not feel like I had any control. Yes. And it's like, then all of a sudden I get like, what do I do? What do I do? I got to hide. I got to run. I got to get out. I got to do something because I'm not safe here.
Yes. So two things that you're saying. One, that you are not safe. And the other one is that you can't control. So you don't like somebody controlling you because you want to be in control. So yes. That is an egoic thought system. The ego loves to control, but it wants to control the outside, and it wants to control our emotions. So it wants to be in charge to create the other thing that you said, a feeling of safety. What we are having to recognize is that we have been conditioned that controlling makes you the person that has authority, the person with power. When our parents controlled us, when other adults controlled us and had their way with us, when the teacher controlled us and told us we couldn't talk, we had to stay quiet in the hallway, we couldn't talk to our friends during lunch or recess. When we were being controlled, we were being programmed over many years to become submissive workers in the world of adulting. So when we become adults, then we want to control our children. We want to control our space. We think we have control over our house, our little safe domain. But when we are waking up, which means we are realizing we're not just human doings, we are souls being, we have to create a relationship with the safety within us that allows us to activate that beingness that we are. And that beingness that we are does not need to control anything external. The only thing that it controls, because it's the only thing it can control, is how we perceive the world. And you're going to find your safety when you begin to control the thoughts that you're thinking, not control your emotions and suppress them, which is what sends us into addiction. We start drinking, shopping, sexing, being a workaholic to stop feeling bad. But I'm talking about controlling the thoughts that you're thinking that cause you to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, because thoughts create our feelings. And that's a whole different conversation about those thoughts that create those neurological pathways and send the chemicals through our bodies. Go listen to Joe Dispenza for that information. My work, the brilliance that God has given me is in understanding how to choose between love and fear-based thoughts. So for you to feel safe, just take a deep breath and ground yourself. I know you know how to go inside, tap into that true essence of who you are. And just tell yourself, it is okay for me to look at this. It is okay for me in this moment to feel safe enough to realize that the only thing that I can control is my belief about myself and others. And it's the only thing I want to control, because it is where I will find my source of power. So Ella, just right now, make a decision. This person outside of me right now in this adult relationship is letting me remember that as a child, I didn't feel safe. I felt others were controlling me. So thank the one today that is helping you return to where this thought originated, where your safety was based on you controlling the world. on you controlling others. And go to that place where you can let your mind begin to bring people who have tried to control you, and let's just forgive them. They didn't know what they were doing, because anybody that needs to control somebody else is coming from a place of fear. Insecure people are fearful people, and they try to get their power by dominating another to, in that moment, deactivate their sense of fear by activating a sense of power over another. But those same people that try to control you then later on feel the guilt of what they have done to you. And your work is to just forgive them, so that you can send out the energy of love. We don't want people to feel guilty, because if we need them to feel guilty, we've got to come out of our center to then tell them how bad they were. That does not activate their light. You need to come into your center, let go of being righteous and wanting to let them know how wrong they were. And you come back into the safety of knowing, and you know this, you are one with all that is. So what you want is people around you to be kinder and gentler. You have to be that change you want to see. Be kind and gentle with yourself. And instead of running away, begin to make your way back to yourself, and know that inside of you is your ability to choose, to trust that you are safe because you are eternal. You are safe because you are the presence of love here. And remember that the only thing you have control and you want to have control over and accept the responsibility for that is what you think about others and about yourself and about the Creator. So the work that we are having to do as we're about to cross this threshold of moving out of the density of humanity into the light, so that our soul beings can be expressed on this planet, the work is to let your human thoughts not be the truth of who you are. Let your soul knowingness get activated so that you can begin to feel your truth, because as you see the truth in another, they're hurting. If you were hurting when you were being controlled, the controller is hurting because they need to control another. Happy people don't hurt others. Hurt people hurt people, because those frequencies, like attracts like. Your work is to be the light of the world. Accept that there is a peaceful place inside of you. You have to accept that safety is you remembering that you are one with all that is. And as you bring yourself back into that awareness, tell yourself that, activate that as your truth. Then you just ask yourself, do you want to be happy, or do you want to be, unhappy? Do you want to be right about what they're doing wrong to you, or do you just want to come into your peaceful place? Because our reset is within our power, and it is when we shift what we are believing. So tell me what has come up for you through this conversation.
Well, some stuff to process for sure. But, as I'm listening to, one of the things that, being reminded of is I've been hearing quite frequently from him on how controlling I am and how I need to control. And I, of course, then reverse that and project it back onto him on about how he's the controlling one. And then, as I'm listening to you and I'm remembering these things, I'm thinking, damn, he's an incredible teacher.
And he's right. And he's right, because he's projecting back to you what you've been doing, because you feel safe and grounded in who you are. You do want to control what they say when they say it, what they let you do, what they don't let you do.
Yeah.
Because you are that hurt part of you needs to control to feel safe. And I'm saying your safety comes when you give up trying to control the outside and go to controlling the only thing you have power over, which is truly the thoughts that you're believing about who you are.
Yeah. I guess it's I think where I'm at on this journey is I can't hide from myself anymore.
No, you
I've
can't.
been doing it, I've been doing this weird little steps, and then the weird, and then the little steps. And I think I'm at that point where there's no more weird I can do. I have to just now own.
You have to own that you are powerful beyond measure.
Yeah.
The awakening that is taking place is a recognition that we're powerful. Are we going to use our power to hurt, or are we going to use our power to heal? That is the question that we must ask ourselves. And the power to heal comes from your faith in that which is whole within.
Yeah.
The power to heal comes from your alignment with the truth that we're all connected. So if you're hurting somebody, you're actually hurting your own self, because they have to reflect back to you the part of you that needs the healing.
Yeah. And I'm seeing that on a deeper level than I ever had before. And it's interesting is that to have such a love for somebody to the point where you're so mean and hurtful, it's a hell of a process to face, but it's I know that there's a good reward from it because I've had taste of it.
It is tough to face how mean we've been, but our meanness we learned that from people who were mean to us when we were children. So we have to return to that childhood and realize, I learned this. It came to me from the outside, from other human egos. It's not what I am. What was I before I began to experience the disconnection from my soul? That's the relationship that we have to cultivate. The practice to be the presence of awareness is cultivating a relationship with who we naturally are. From the moment that we enter this incarnation, what comes into this incarnation is a happy, joyful being. Then we get conditioned by what we observe outside of ourselves. And these beings outside of ourselves model for us who they are. And if we then begin to believe that we are based on how they treat us, we choose to come out of our center and move to the edges where we're protecting. That makes us very unbalanced, because I gotta control this person. I gotta control the job. I gotta control the money. I gotta control the way the house looks. I gotta control what so-and-so is doing. I gotta control the kids. You're operating always on the edge of who you are. No wonder we're frantic, because that's too many balls to try and juggle. When you're grounded in the center of who you are, you bring a level of peace and maturity and groundedness to whatever is happening. And that you have to claim for yourself is within you, because that's how you reconnect with your higher self, is to begin to say, everything that I'm reading about my soul, everything that I'm reading about my higher self, my essence, my spirit, I am choosing to believe it is true about me. If that part of me is pure peace, how can I feel more peace? Well, it's by thinking thoughts that align with peace. Because if you think attack thoughts, that pulls you out of your peace. If you think I'm unworthy, if you think I should do something to receive, if you think I don't know what I am, those thoughts pull you from your center to the edge of your beingness, and then you're going to want to try to control others to have a sense of control. But that does not allow you to feel peace, because if you're controlling the edges, you are really out of control inside. So thank you for this lovely conversation. So,
thank you.
Yes, thank you for staying here with me for all of this time. Let me say a prayer, which is just an affirmation of the truth of who we are, so that you can go today into your day and into your tomorrows with this as a memory that you have to allow to become your reality. And the only way it'll become your reality is you have to be willing to believe the goodness that is inside of you, because that is the change that is necessary, is for you to know your truth, so you can extend that, so that you can become a giver instead of a taker and a protector. Because the taking and protecting has gotten us into a big mess of a world of disconnected people. We need to reconnect with our hearts, reconnect within ourselves, so that we can become the conduit for the connection on the planet of all beings that were created equally as us. So creative source of all that is. As I take a deep breath and ground myself, maybe put my hands on my heart so that I can feel that this body vessel that I have has an opportunity for me to express the truth of the love and the light that I have within me. Today, I recognize that I prefer to be present to what I am. I prefer to learn how to cultivate a practice that allows me to come inside and tap into that love, that essence, that truth, that worth, that is who I am. It is not only how Source created me, but it is the only place that I'll ever feel safe. It's the only place where I'll ever have any peace. And when I can come inside and observe my fears, observe my anxieties, observe my depression, observe my judgments, my jealousy, observe my guilt, then I can have more compassion for what has happened, not only to me, but to every being on the planet. I know that I can come inside, ground myself in the center of my beingness, and with awareness that everything that is hurtful, I have learned from others, I have taught it to others. Today, I am choosing to accept that it is in me to be egoic, but it is also in me to be the presence of love and compassion. And today, I accept that I am a being that is made of pure light, that is made of pure energy. And I put off a frequency. And the frequency that I want to start putting off is a frequency that vibrates at a high level of peace, of joy, of acceptance, of forgiveness, so that others can begin to feel safe around me. Because my safety depends on me being what creates a safe space for others. Because in time, as others do their own work, as I am doing my own work, we will all remove the obstacles that we have built that keep us separate and keep us in places of needing to control. So as I come to the place of finding my own safety inside, and I let go needing to control externals, which I cannot control, I begin to create a space of safety that will create a resonance that others will feel safe in my space. And little by little, the whole world will feel safe because we will have released our need to control others, our need to believe thoughts that are not true. And as we do this, we allow the whole planet to ascend to a higher frequency. And the planet is going in that direction, whether we like it or not. So I am going to allow myself to surrender into this journey that is ascending all of us into the recognition that love is the only power that heals. Love is the only power that truly exists. And for all of us to experience that, we must begin by loving ourselves enough to enter into the stillness, to enter into the quiet, to come within. And with that presence that is within us, that soul, that spirit that we are, recognize that anybody who is hurting, anybody else, they're calling for our love. They're calling for our compassion. And I am doing it not for them. I am doing it for me. Because it is time that I come into my center, accept my truth, release my guilt, my shame for what I've done unto others, and that I can begin to treat them as I would like for them to do unto me. And I release generations past that taught me things that were not true. I allow those past generations to be forgiven so that I may be an example for the generations to come, so that the world that I'm helping to create will be a loving, kind, generous, compassionate world that I will reincarnate into. So I am doing all of this for me, because if who I am is not grounded in love, then I will be part of the problem that treats others from my place of fear. So as I do this for me, love extends for we. And with this truth, I know that I am aligning with the presence inside of me, that it is my guiding light. So I will practice being this presence as often as possible. For every irritation is an invitation for me to come inside and remember. I accept this as my truth. I know everybody can do this, but everybody will do it to the ability that they are capable of. My job is not to be concerned with others. My job is to be concerned with myself so that I can release others from my judgments. And then we will create heaven on earth. So with this truth, I accept it as mine. And with that, we complete this conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Next Friday, on the 3rd of April at 12 o'clock, we will do another conversation where I'm going to share from A Course in Miracles what God says is the truth, so that we can commit to being under no laws but God's, and they are the laws of love. And look for on April the 11th, I am going to create a workshop. It's going to have a minimal price, very, very minimal, so that we can learn how to shift and lift. We will work with a worksheet. We will just really create a very simple process, 4 simple steps that allow us to practice being the presence that we truly are, so that we can shift our frequency from fear to love quickly by seeing what it costs us to not be aligned with the presence of who we are. Thank you so much for being here. And I am going to unmute everybody so that if anybody wants to express anything, go ahead, and please let me know, what did you think of today, this conversation?
Thank you, Lina.
Thank you, Lina.
Thank you, Lina. It was beautiful.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Today was awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Carol and Ella, for your transparency and your willingness to be teachers for all of us.
Thank you. It was good.
Thank you.
I hope you took away at least one nugget. Now go share it.
Will do.
See you on Friday. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you too.